3 years ago. My husband Grant is everything I prayed for after leaving an abusive first marriage. Gentle, grounded, the kind of man who washes the dishes without being asked and reads bedtime stories with silly voices. He didn't flinch when he met Callie, my daughter from my previous marriage. In fact, he insisted on adopting her legally the day we got married. Said, "I want her to know I choose her. Not just today. Always." I wish the rest of his family had felt the same. See, the Hartwells are old Southern money. Like, still have a family crest over the fireplace, kind of old. They throw giant Sunday brunches, host charity galas, and believe deeply in three things: bloodlines, family name, and keeping things respectable. Callie didn't stand a chance. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. The way Uncle Ray would glance past her at family dinners. The way Aunt Meredith would post pictures of all the grandkids and crop Callie out. The way they said, "She's yours, right?" Like she was a +1 at a wedding instead of my daughter. Callie noticed. Of course she did. She's 8, not clueless. She stopped asking to go to family cookouts. She started packing books to every event, sitting under the patio umbrella while the other kids played. And I just kept smiling through it, telling myself it was better not to stir the pot. Better not to be that wife. But everything changed on her birthday. It was supposed to be a joint celebration. Callie and Grant's youngest cousin, Emma, born a day apart. Big backyard party, balloons, a 2-layer cake, all the cousins, the whole thing. Grant and I showed up early with Callie's gift bags and cupcakes. She wore the blue dress she picked herself and a paper crown that said, "Birthday Girl." She looked so proud. The party started fine. Burgers, lemonade, the usual chaos of too many kids and not enough chairs. But when it came time for the birthday song, something shifted. They lit the candles, one set on each side of the cake. Emma's family gathered instantly, holding up phones, smiling wide. Callie waited. Nobody stood beside her. Grant and I exchanged a glance. I started to walk toward her, but then Uncle Ray's voice cut through the crowd. Loud, casual, like he was making a joke. "She ain't even blood. Why's she blowing out candles?" Everything stopped. The music didn't, but it felt like it did. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Plastic forks froze halfway to mouths. Callie turned slowly toward him. No one said a word. Aunt Meredith gave a weak laugh. "Oh, Ray, stop." But she didn't look at him. She looked at me. Like I was supposed to smooth this over. Callie looked at me too. And then, she didn't cry. She turned and walked inside the house. Calm, like she had rehearsed this. 5 minutes later, she came back holding something small, an envelope. She didn't say a word. She walked straight across the lawn, past the stunned faces, and handed it to Grant's father, the family patriarch. "Dad said to give you this if someone ever made me feel like I didn't belong." Then she turned and walked back to her chair. He stared at the envelope in his hand. And then, quietly, he said, "Everyone, let's take 5. I need a moment." That's when I realized this wasn't Callie's first time thinking she'd need to prove she belonged. She'd prepared for this. And what was inside that envelope? Let's just say. When he opened it, everything this family pretended to stand for came crashing down. Her for the first time. Then he cleared his throat and walked inside, envelope still sealed, not saying a word. That left the rest of us in awkward limbo. Emma's mom tried to keep the party going. "Okay, kids, let's do the piñata." But it was useless. The energy had been gutted. No one wanted cupcakes anymore. Callie sat down next to me quietly. She didn't ask for reassurance. She didn't look scared. Just done. Later that night, after we got home and Callie was in bed, I asked Grant what was in the envelope. I hadn't known about it. He looked tired, like the air had gone out of his chest. "I wrote it after the lake house weekend," he said. "You mean the one where they gave every cousin matching towels and said Callie could use one of the spares?" He nodded. She asked me if the towels with names meant something. I remember that weekend. I had spent 2 days convincing myself it didn't matter, that a towel didn't define her worth, but she remembered. Grant leaned against the counter, staring at nothing. I couldn't keep telling her next time. So I wrote a letter. I printed her adoption certificate. I told her if someone made her feel like an outsider again, she could choose when to hand it over. I didn't even know what to say. Part of me was angry he hadn't told me. The other part wanted to cry from relief that he'd finally chosen her. But nothing prepared me for what came next. 2 days later, Grant's father invited us over. Just us. Me, Grant, and Callie. No big family gathering, no excuses. When we walked in, I could feel something had shifted. He wasn't angry, just sad. He sat us down and pulled the envelope out from a drawer. It had been opened. He looked at Callie first. I read every word. He said softly, "And I want you to know, you were always mine. I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner." Callie didn't say anything, but she scooted a little closer to Grant. Then he turned to me. "But this," he said, holding up the letter, "this will cause a problem." Grant tensed. "What kind of problem?" His dad sighed. "Ray's furious. Said you embarrassed the family. That you let her," he nodded at me, "turn you against your blood." I sat up straighter. "Excuse me?" "He thinks this was your idea, that you made the girl do it." Grant didn't even hesitate. "Then Ray doesn't know me at all." His father nodded, slow. "I told him to back off, but you need to be ready. The rest of the family, they're gonna pick sides." And they did. Within a week, Grant's cousin blocked me on Facebook. Someone removed Callie from the cousins group chat. We stopped getting invites to brunch. Suddenly, we were the outsiders. It stung. Even though I'd never fully belonged, it hurt to be cut out like that. Like we were disposable. But Callie? She was thriving. She laughed more. Slept better. Started asking if she could help cook dinner. One night, I found her drawing her real family, and it was just the three of us. Me, her, and Grant, holding hands in front of our tiny blue house. No cousins. No Uncle Ray. No pretending. But the twist came a month later. Callie came home from school with a letter in her backpack. Handwritten, in shaky cursive. No name on the envelope. Just, to Callie. "I hope this finds you before you forget me." It was from Grant's mother, the woman who hadn't said one word during the birthday debacle. The woman who'd sat quietly through years of small exclusions and never spoke up once. The letter said she had stayed silent to keep the peace, but that she'd watched her family become cruel in the name of tradition, and that Callie's voice had woken something in her. At the bottom, in shaky ink, was one last line. "If you'll let me, I'd like to come see you. Just me. No one else." Callie held the letter in her hands like it was glass. Then she looked up at me and said something I'll never forget. "Do I have to forgive her?" I didn't answer right away. Because honestly, I didn't know. Callie didn't want to go. She didn't say it outright. She just asked if she could stay home and read instead. And honestly, I wanted to let her. But Grant said, "Let's give it one more chance. Maybe things are different now." Different? Sure. Different like a knife with a sharper edge. The moment we walked in, I knew we'd made a mistake. Everyone was too polite. The kind of polite that smells like rot under perfume. Fake smiles, frozen eyes. Not one person greeted Callie by name. Not even Emma, her so-called cousin. The kids were all wearing matching custom t-shirts with Hartwell Legacy printed in script across the front. Callie wasn't given one. I looked at Grant. He clenched his jaw but said nothing. Again. That was the thing with Grant. He felt everything, but his reflex was always to keep the peace, to hope people would just come around. But Callie was past hoping. She stayed near me most of the evening, hands tucked in her cardigan pockets. barely spoke. And when the slideshow started, that ridiculous annual Hartwell tradition where they show family memories on a giant screen, Callie's name didn't appear once. Not once. Not in group shots. Not in Christmas recaps. Not even in her own birthday photo. They'd erased her. I felt my chest tighten. I turned to Grant, but before I could say a word, the screen changed, and a new slide popped up. White background, black letters. Blood is thicker than paper. There was an audible gasp in the room. Someone laughed, someone else clapped. Callie was staring at the screen, motionless. I stood up. Who made that? Silence. No one answered. Grant stood too, and this time he didn't hesitate. I'm asking again. Who did that? His cousin Drew raised a hand, smug. It's just a joke, man. You can't take a joke anymore? Grant didn't say anything. Just turned, picked up Callie's hand, and started walking her out of the room. And then Uncle Ray said it, loud enough for everyone to hear. You can't turn a stray into family just by signing a piece of paper. It was like the air got sucked out of the building. Grant froze. Callie looked up at him, and then he let go of her hand. Just for a second. Just long enough to turn around and look Ray dead in the eye. Say that again, Grant said, voice low. Ray smirked. I said she's not. Before he could finish, someone shouted, Stop! It wasn't me. It wasn't Grant. It was Callie. She stepped forward, voice shaking, hands clenched. I know I don't belong to your bloodline, she said, but I'm not a stray. I'm not a mistake. I'm just a kid who thought she finally had a family. And then, God, this part still breaks me. She reached into her little purse and pulled out her adoption paper. Folded, worn, edges creased from being opened and closed too many times. I brought this, she said, holding it up, because I thought maybe, if I showed it to you, you'd believe it mattered. No one moved. No one spoke. But then, twist. Grant's mother stood up from the back of the room. Hair perfect, dress spotless, and said, loud and clear, It doesn't. She looked at me, then Callie. She's not a Hartwell, she's your charity case, and it's time everyone stopped pretending otherwise. I don't remember what happened in the next 10 seconds. Just heat in my ears and the sound of Callie's breathing. She didn't cry. She just folded the paper, placed it on the nearest table, and whispered, I get it now. You'll never see me. Because you never wanted to. Then she walked out. I followed. I don't know how long we sat in the car, just the two of us. I kept staring at the steering wheel. She kept staring out the window. Eventually, she said, I wish I hadn't brought the paper. Why? I asked. Because now it feels like I tried to prove something to people who already decided I don't count. That hit like a truck. And if you've ever been the one trying to prove you're worthy of love, of space, of being seen, only to be told again and again that you're almost enough, but never really enough. I see you. You're not alone. And neither is she. That box with the kind of grace I hadn't seen from adults twice her age. Not after the way Lorraine's face crumpled like the truth physically hurt her. Not after she looked at my child like she was the problem in a story Lorraine wrote herself. The silence after that day was deafening, but peaceful. No phone calls, no texts, no olive branches disguised as guilt trips. And I didn't miss a single one. But then something strange happened. We got a wedding invite. From Travis's cousin. The one who'd always been a little too eager to follow Lorraine's lead, but just detached enough to pretend she wasn't involved. It was addressed to Travis and family, which technically includes Zia. We didn't plan to go at first, but Zia, sweetheart that she is, asked if we could. I want to see if they mean it this time. Grant hesitated, but I knew that look on her face. She didn't want closure. She wanted clarity. So we said yes. Zia picked her outfit carefully. The same gold dress she wore the day she gave Lorraine the box. Her quiet way of saying she hadn't forgotten. I didn't expect them to roll out the red carpet, but I also didn't expect what we walked into. Assigned seating, place cards, every child at a special cousin table with their names in gold script. Except one. Zia's name wasn't there. Again. They'd made up some nonsense about an oversight and offered her a spot at the overflow table, next to a stack of high chairs and diaper bags. Travis clenched his jaw. I grabbed his hand. "I've got this," I said. Zia looked up at me like, "Are we really doing this again?" I walked up to the cousin bride, who was mid-laugh with someone from her husband's side. "Hey," I said, calm but pointed. "There seems to be a mistake. Zia's name is missing from the cousin table." She blinked. "Oh, yeah, we ran out of space. It's nothing personal." I smiled, tight, controlled. "That's fine," I said. "I'll take her seat." She frowned. "Sorry?" "I'll take her seat," I repeated. "You made a choice about who belongs, so now I'm making one." I pulled a chair from the table, gently placed it next to Zia's at the overflow table, and sat down. No drama. No scene. Just a quiet refusal to let my daughter eat alone again. But the twist came during the speeches. The groom got up, raised his glass, and said something I'll never forget. "And lastly, we just want to thank the whole Hartwell family, every single one of you, official or not, for showing up today." People chuckled. A few clapped. But Lorraine? She stood up, slowly, like something in her had snapped all over again. "I wasn't going to say anything," she said, voice shaking. "But since everyone's pretending like the past didn't happen, let's not forget who almost ruined Christmas." The room froze. She looked straight at me, then at Zia. "You're not owed a place here just because you made a child call you mom." And that's when Travis stood. No hesitation this time. No clenched jaw. Just clarity. He pulled out his phone, opened an app, tapped twice, and said, "That's funny, Mom, because as of today, you don't own this property anymore." Everyone turned. She blinked. "What are you talking about?" "The wedding venue," he said calmly. "It's part of the foundation's holdings, and I've just revoked your access. Legally, publicly." And then, God help me, he looked at the event coordinator and said, "Escort Mrs. Hartwell off the premises." Lorraine's face twisted. She looked around for someone, anyone, to defend her. No one moved. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, heels clicking like gunfire. And Zia? Zia just looked down at her plate, broke her cookie in half, and offered me the bigger piece. I swear, I nearly lost it right there. Because for the first time ever, she didn't shrink when someone made her feel small. She stayed. And God, that meant more than anything. If you've ever been treated like a guest in your own story, if you've ever watched someone you love be quietly erased in plain sight, you're not alone. And if nobody else says it, I will. You belong. It felt like peace. Like a door finally closed behind us that should have been shut years ago. For the first few weeks, I watched Zia closely, half expecting her to ask something. Maybe a late-night whisper about missing her cousins or wondering if Grandma ever loved her. But the questions never came. Instead, she bloomed. She started laughing in that unguarded way again, like nothing in the world could touch her when she was with us. She helped me cook. She asked Travis to teach her how to use the drill so she could build a memory box that can't be ignored. And when summer came around, she made her own invite list for her birthday. Every single person on it had one thing in common. They'd shown up for her when it counted. She didn't even flinch when Lorraine's name never came up. But just when I thought the story had ended, a letter arrived. Handwritten. No return address. Just a plain white envelope placed inside our mailbox by hand. It was from Lorraine. Not to me. Not to Travis. To Zia. I found it before she did and brought it inside. Travis and I stared at it like it might explode. He said, "Let her decide." So I handed it to Zia after school. She sat at the kitchen table, legs swinging off the chair, and opened it without a word. She read it once, twice. Then she quietly folded it, walked over to the trash can, and dropped it in without blinking. What did it say? I asked gently. She shrugged. She said she misses me, and that families should forgive each other. But she never said she was sorry. I didn't respond right away, because that right there was the real ending. Not a tearful reunion, not a tidy confession, but a child recognizing when someone wants access, not accountability. 3 weeks later, Lorraine showed up uninvited at Zia's school recital. She sat in the back, stiff and alone. Zia walked on stage, in a sparkly blue dress she picked herself, holding her violin like a crown. She played with confidence, no hesitation, like someone who knew she belonged. When the recital ended, Lorraine stood up. She looked ready to come over, maybe to make a scene, maybe to reclaim something she thought was hers. But before she could even step forward, Zia turned her head, made direct eye contact, and then turned away. Deliberately. She didn't frown, didn't wave, didn't even blink, and that moment, that choice, that was her real letter. Delivered without paper, without words, just truth. Lorraine never showed up again. Not at school, not at birthdays, not in our mailbox. We didn't need her to. Because Zia had already taken back her story. Quietly, firmly, permanently. And Lorraine? She was left holding her silence, finally getting a taste of what it feels like to be invisible in a room full of people who used to pretend they cared. Some people don't deserve closure. They deserve absence. And the echo of the door you finally chose to close. Lesson? Love isn't proven by blood, but by how people show up when it's hardest. And silence? Sometimes it's not weakness. It's your loudest boundary. If you've ever had to cut someone out to protect your peace, especially for your kid, drop a comment. Your story might be the thing that helps someone else feel less alone. And if you're still walking through it, you're not crazy. You're just finally choosing yourself. Stick around. There are more stories like this.